welcome to ERi-TV English News Broadcast. It's exactly 10:30 p.m. Asmara time, and we're now ready for domestic and international news from Monday, the 14th of April. Reporting live from our headquarters in Asmara and inviting you to stay with us is Heaven Johans, your news anchor for this session. Let's first begin with the major headlines. National Cultural Heritage Workshop concludes. Elections for local governors and executives held in the Abed subzone. Iran and the US held positive talks in Oman. And US extends Russia sanctions for 12 months. In our domestic news, the National Workshop on Cultural Heritage held under the theme Our Cultural Growth, the Candle of Our Development, and that took place in Asab from April 11, concluded on the 13th. The workshop covered topics including physical cultural heritage management, research and documentation methods, the history of looting and destruction of heritage sites in Eritrea, as well as the definition and description of intangible cultural heritage and oral traditions. 13 research papers were presented and discussed, focusing on the fundamental concepts of cultural exhibitions. As part of the national workshop, participants visited Rahaita in the southern Kalia subzone, a site known for its centuries-old cultural civilization, preserved relics and traditions. Sultan Abdul Qadir Daud of Rahaita highlighted that the area holds heritage sites and cultural traditions that require further exploration and research. In his closing remarks, Ambassador Zamed Al-Takhla, Commissioner of Culture and Sports, noted that although the workshop was the first of its kind, it was a valuable experience and offered significant insights. He expressed appreciation to the Southern Red Sea Regional Administration for its support. Sultan Abdul Qadir Daud and Ambassador Zamed Al-Takhla exchanged gifts during the occasion. The workshop was attended by the Governor of the Southern Red Sea Region, Ambassador Mohammed Said Mantai, and Brigadier General Abraham Andom, Commander of the Eastern Command. In another news, elections for local administrators, executives and village representatives were conducted in 14 local administrations within the Abed subzone from April 4 to 11. A total of 28 local governors and executives, including 5 women, and 123 village representatives were elected. According to Eritrean news agency, pre-election campaigns and awareness-raising sessions played a significant role in enhancing voter participation and ensuring the successful conduct of the elections. The Southern Region's Culture and Sports Department organized a training session on financial and asset management for 38 of its members in Mandafera from April 8 to 10. The training primarily focused on the guidelines for increasing sports-related revenues and included discussions with stakeholders on financial regulations and legal frameworks. Participants were reminded that since sports activities are often supported by the community and funded by public contributions, revenues must be properly collected and managed. Mr. Haile Mariam Gabrametin, head of the Southern Region Sports Commission branch, stated that the training would help promote sound practices in managing financial revenues and preserving sports assets. At the conclusion of the training, Mr. Abraham Yohannes, Director of the Culture and Sports Department, emphasized that efforts are ongoing to ensure the sustainability of regional sports revenue systems. This wraps up our domestic news for this session. Dear viewers, we'll be back with the international ones after the short break. Welcome back. Iran and the US said they held positive and constructive talks in Oman on Saturday and agreed to reconvene next week in a dialogue meant to address Iran's nuclear program, with President Trump threatening military action if there is no deal. The 2.5-hour talks between Iranian Foreign Minister Said Abbas Araghchi and U.S. Special Envoy to the Middle East Steve Witkoff centered on Iran's nuclear issue and sanctions relief, said the ministry in a statement. The statement added that the two sides agreed to continue the talks next week, noting that when leaving the negotiations venue, the heads of the two countries' delegations spoke for a few minutes in the presence of the Omani foreign minister. In an address to reporters in Muscat following the talks, Foreign Minister Said Araghashi said the first round of the talks was constructive and the two sides demonstrated their commitment to advancing the talks until the achievement of a mutually favorable agreement from an equal position. The talks in Muscat came after U.S. President Donald Trump stated in early March that he had sent a letter to Iranian leaders via the United Arab Emirates proposing negotiations on Iran's nuclear program. Iran later confirmed receiving the letter and left the door open for indirect engagement. In today's final report, President Donald Trump has prolonged U.S. sanctions on Russia for another year based on the supposition that Russia still poses a serious threat to the country's national security. The latest extension approved by Trump and dated April 10, 2025 has been posted to the Federal Registered website announcing the continuation of the national emergency with respect to specified harmful foreign activities of the government of the Russian Federation. It refers primarily to Executive Order 14024, signed by former President Joe Biden in April 2021 in response to an unusual and extraordinary threat to the national security, foreign policy and the economy of the United States presumed to be posed by Russia. U.S. President Donald Trump has also threatened to impose new sanctions on Russia if he deems the country responsible for any failure in ceasefire talks on the Ukraine conflict. Commenting on Trump's threat, Russian spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said last week that their dialogue with the American side is ongoing and that Russia remains open to resolving the Ukraine conflict diplomatically. With this, we conclude our news for this session, dear viewers, and now a quick recap of the major headlines. National Cultural Heritage Workshop concludes in Asab. The elections for local governors and executives held in the Abed subzone. Iran and the U.S. held positive talks in Oman. And United States extends Russia sanctions for 12 months. This was The World on Monday with ERi-TV English News Broadcast. Dear viewers, thank you for joining. It's officially a goodbye from us.